Our standard today is to use observations or models of the sun, moon, and stars to describe patterns that can be predicted. We're going to take a closer look at the text today. Who can remember, what do you call it when the moon seems to grow? It says each night the moon seems to grow. The moon is waxing. Waxing. So when the moon looks like it's getting bigger, we call that a waxing moon. Seems to get smaller. When we see less and less of the moon is waning. Boys and girls, have you noticed that in the picture, the moon goes in a cyclical pattern? In other words, it makes a circle around the earth. Just like the earth goes around the sun. They both go in a circular direction that's called a cyclical pattern. And that's why it's predictable. It's doing the same thing over and over, going around and around in the circle. And when you have that, it's predictable. And it makes patterns. And if it appears to get bigger, it's called a waxing moon. And if it's getting smaller, it's called a waning moon. Good job. Notice the sunlight and where it's hitting the moon. Notice the earth, and if we were standing here, this is what we would look at. We would see the dark side. So what is that darkness there? Does that mean that the moon disappeared? No. Good job. So what is it? Did I hear you say shadow? You are exactly right, because here's the sun. This side cannot be reflected because there's no light to hit it there. So what we see is only a shadow because of the position of the earth and where we are and the sun. So we see the shadows. So the darkness stands for the shadow. What about the lit part here? What is that? You're right. That is the reflection of light from the sun. That's why we can see it. Okay, let's look at this little person at the window here. He's looking out from his bedroom window, maybe, looking up at the moon. And this shows where he is at different times. Notice where the sun is. And here he is. What is he seeing? He is seeing the shadow side. So that is a new moon. And our cyclical pattern is going in this direction. So if it begins as a new moon, is it going to appear to get larger or smaller? Very good. It's going to appear to get larger because we know that that moon is working its way to the full moon. And here we are looking out our window, and this is what we see, the full moon. See, we're looking at it from this position now. We've got the moon is here, the earth is between the sun and the moon. And look at where the light hits and reflects off the moon. Do you see that? So the light is hitting the moon, and here we are. So we see all the lit part of the moon. We get to see the whole half of the sphere. Okay? And we only see one side of the moon because of the way the rotation works. And then here we are looking at it again, and again you can tell which part of the moon is lit, but the way we are with the earth, it casts a shadow on part of it. So we get to see some shadow part, and we also get to see some light reflected. And it was just a full moon, so is it going to be waning or waxing? You're right, it is going to be waning because it started out really large. We could see the whole half, and now it's going to get smaller because it's going to work its way back to the new moon. So now we are in the waning. We have a waning moon. Here we get to see exactly half of the moon is in the shadow and half of it is reflecting light. So it is the third quarter moon. And again, we're still waning. And we get to the waning gibbous and then the waning crescent. And then we go back to, you got it, the new moon. It is a cyclical pattern that we can predict.